The storm had arrived earlier than expected, swallowing the road in a blur of white. The evergreen mountain lodge sat tucked deep in the Colorado Rockies, its windows glowing against the snow like small promises of warmth. By nightfall, only 2 travelers remained, strangers brought together by the kind of weather that changes plans and sometimes people. Nora Bennett hadn't planned to stop. She was driving from Denver to Vermont for her sister's wedding when the blizzard warning started pinging her phone. She took the exit mostly out of instinct, following the little wooden sign that pointed toward the lodge. Inside, it smelled like cedar, cinnamon, and old memories. The owners, Ed and Millie Harper, looked to be in their 70s. Kind eyes, quick smiles, the sort of couple who'd built this place by hand and poured a lifetime into keeping it running. Millie explained that they were supposed to have closed for the season the day before, but decided to stay one more night to fix the heater. Lucky for Nora, she thought. While signing the guest book, the door opened behind her, carrying in a gust of cold air and another stranded traveler. He brushed snow from his jacket, stamping his boots against the rug. His hair was dark, his face rugged but kind. "Road's closed," Ed said. "You're here for the night, maybe 2. The man gave a small nod. "Guess I'm not going anywhere then." He caught Nora's glance and smiled faintly. "Looks like we're in this together." She smiled back, polite but guarded. "Seems that way." His name was Ethan Cole, traveling home to see family in Utah. Millie gave them each a key, 2 small rooms across the hall from one another, and made sure the fire in the main lodge stayed strong. The rooms were cozy but cramped, with thin walls and drafty windows, so Nora spent most of her time in the common area, near the fireplace, with her laptop open and a mug of cocoa cooling beside her. The storm outside had grown fierce, snow tapping against the windows in steady rhythm. Ethan sat on the opposite side of the room at first, reading a book near the old piano. They exchanged a few polite smiles, but didn't talk. The silence between them wasn't awkward, just peaceful. The kind that comes when 2 people have both been moving too fast for too long. By the second morning, Millie served pancakes and scrambled eggs in the tiny dining area. "Eat while it's hot," she said, setting down 2 plates. "We're the only ones left, so you might as well sit together." Nora laughed softly, and Ethan smiled. "Guess we don't have a choice." Over breakfast, they talked. First about travel, then about work, and then about everything else. She told him she was a marketing director who'd forgotten how to take a vacation. He told her he worked with his hands, remodeling old houses, fixing what other people threw away. "You must love that," she said. He shrugged. "It's satisfying. I like the idea that nothing's too broken to rebuild." She smiled at that, and for a moment, something warm flickered between them. Quiet but undeniable. The storm dragged on, forcing them into a rhythm that felt surprisingly easy. They played a few of the old board games stacked on the bookshelf, faded boxes of Scrabble, Monopoly, and Candyland from decades past. They laughed about who cheated more and who was worse at spelling. They shared cocoa by the fire and read books from the lodge's tiny library. They even went for short walks between snowfalls, bundled in every layer they could find. On the 3rd day, the wind finally calmed. The air outside was bright and still, the snow untouched and gleaming under a pale sun. "You up for a hike?" Ethan asked as they finished breakfast. Nora hesitated only for a second. "If you promise not to lose me in the snow." He grinned. "Scout's honor." The trail behind the lodge led to a ridge overlooking the valley, where the trees bowed heavy with snow. They talked as they walked, about childhood Christmases, family, the years that got away too fast. When they stopped to catch their breath, Nora bent down and scooped up a handful of snow, packing it into a ball. Ethan saw it coming too late. The snowball hit his shoulder, exploding into a burst of white. "Oh, it's on," he said, laughing as he scooped up his own. For 10 glorious minutes, the mountain echoed with laughter and flying snow. She darted behind trees. He missed on purpose more than once, and soon they were both laughing too hard to throw straight. When he finally caught her, they both slipped into the drift, landing side by side in the powder. Their laughter faded into breathless silence. Snowflakes clung to her hair, her cheeks flushed pink. He looked at her, waiting, not pushing, and for a heartbeat, time felt suspended. She smiled softly. "Don't look at me like that." "Like what?" he asked. "Like you're about to kiss me." He grinned. "You'd stop me." She hesitated, snow still melting on her lashes. Maybe not. But before either of them moved, a gust of wind broke the moment. They both laughed again, brushing snow from their coats. By the time they returned to the lodge, soaked and shivering, Ed was crouched by the heater, muttering to himself. "Went out again," he said. "I'll get it fixed soon, but it'll be chilly for a while." Millie handed them each a towel. "Fireplace is still good. Warm up there." Ethan tossed a few logs into the fire while Nora changed into dry clothes. When she came back down, he was sitting on the couch with a heavy blanket draped over his shoulders. She hesitated, then joined him, sliding beneath the blanket beside him. "Still cold?" she asked. He chuckled. "Only on one side." They sat like that for a long time, the fire crackling, snow whispering against the windows, the warmth of shared quiet settling between them. She leaned her head against his shoulder, and he pulled the blanket tighter around them. When she finally looked up, he was already watching her, eyes soft, patient, but certain. This time, she didn't wait. She leaned in and kissed him, slow and deliberate, tasting cocoa and warmth and something that felt like home. When they finally parted, he smiled. "I think you just made the storm worth it." She laughed softly. "Let's not tell the Weather Channel that." Outside, the snow had begun again. Light, gentle flakes drifting down like confetti from heaven. And inside the quiet little lodge, with a broken heater, an old blanket, and two hearts that had found something worth holding on to, everything felt perfectly warm.